Hello folks, and welcome back to the next installment in our little RX8 mini series build. And need to get back onto this now pretty quickly and get the motor to gearbox adapter and coupler finished because my friend has got the use of a garage for a few weeks, and it'd be great if I had this done for him so that he can put the motor and the gearbox back in the car while he has the use of these facilities. So let's do a quick recap on where we were. So you saw us last time, we were starting work on the coupler between the motor and the gearbox. So we've made a lot of progress with that since, and we're going to go through that today, and we're going to go through the procedure for making a kind of a dirt cheap adapter plate setup. So let's get straight to it. Alright, so over here you'll see we've been working on the coupler. We have it kind of press fitted together, and I've been basically clocking it here to make sure that we got all of the errors out of it. Alright, so when you last left us, we had cut off this kind of a splined coupler part. What I did then was I faced it off on the lathe and cut down the clutch disc so that we had this part, just the clutch center remaining, and I bored out this bit here till it was about 0.03 millimeters too small to fit this. Heated this up with a normal propane torch and just slotted the clutch disc section in there. Now once I had that done, I next mounted it on the motor and set up a DTI, a dial test indicator here. And when I first put it on, it was way out. It was about a 0.5 millimeter out. So the trick is then, now what you want to do is you want to put the DTI on and rotate until you get the part that's sticking out the most, and then just give it a tap. And you just work around and you tap it around until we have this now. It's extremely accurate now, and certainly good enough for what we need. So the next procedure is that we're going to weld up carefully on the back here so that we can make this one piece. Alright, so what you have seen me do there is to put 4 spot welds 180 degrees apart. And the purpose of that is so that we don't pull the clutch disc center off the location as the welds cool. So that's what we do first of all, to make certain that we lock it into the right place before we do a complete seam weld all the way around. Alright, so now that we have tacked it and confirmed it with the DTI, we're going to go ahead and weld up the whole section now. So here we go. this done, the next thing we need to do is we need to drill and tap a hole into the side of our motor side coupler, so that we can tap a hole for a grub screw. And the reason we want that is we don't want this coupler to start sliding back and forth when we get up to speed. So let's see, I've sanded a little bit of the surface hardening off here, and we'll see what happens. Now we get to find out if a cheap set of taps can tap this. I think I can actually put the goggles on, because I know this thing might decide to not have a good day. Let's see what happens. Wow, I wonder did it actually do it. I think we're okay. I think we're okay. Yeah, actually cut treads in it. Woohoo. Alright, I'm going to go hit this with the last of my brake cleaner to get rid of the swarf. Lots of little chips and that in there, I don't want them fouling up these splines. I think that's pretty. Alrighty, so our coupler is pretty much ready to go. I've got my grub screw fitted here, cleaned out all the crud out of the splines, and it fits beautifully and runs very straight on our Siemens motor. So, next thing we got to do is a little bit of preparatory work on our gearbox. So we're going to go ahead, remove the clutch release bearing, we're going to remove the clutch fork, and we're going to cut off this nose from the first motion shaft. So let's go ahead and get that done. Doesn't help everything's covered in crap. There it is. Okay, and get rid of our fork here now. There we are. Okay, so that is our gearbox. Pretty much now getting prepped for the coupler. So let's have a look and see. No, there's our coupler. Alrighty, so now that we have the coupler done, the next thing that we really need is to make the adapter plate. Now, because this is a budget build, we're not going to use aluminium, which we would normally have done in the past. Instead, we're going to use some steel. So what I have on the floor here is a 10mm steel plate. Got this cheap from a local metalwork company. And we're going to use this as the basis for our adapter plate to adapt our RX8 gearbox to our Siemens motor. Now we're going to show you guys pretty good detail how we go about doing that. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get the motor up on its back side. So I took out those water fittings for cooling out at the back, and we have the motor sitting up vertically now with the shaft sticking vertically. So next thing we need to do then, so I have drained all the oil out of the gearbox. So we are going to sit the gearbox onto this plate, and we're going to use a series of locating punches to locate the bell housing bolt. So let's go ahead and start that process. BMW preferred type, but not too bad. Definitely manageable. Or my kind of, this is how I do CNC. So we basically get one that's just smaller than the hole. So that there, for example. And then we start tapping. That's one. I'm guessing most of these will probably be the same. That one's not. That one is. Okay, so we now have our bell housing bolts drilled, and I've popped in just some random bolts here just to make sure that we're all lined up. You probably won't be able to see this too well on camera, but I've gone in here through the clutch fork hole and I've marked the location of the first motion shaft on the plate. And we're now going to take this off and we're going to drill a large hole into the plate, which will allow our coupler to come through. Okay, this is not going to be pleasant under any condition. a bit of a lump out of my drill table, but we're still here. Woohoo. Alright, let's get this thing cleaned up and let's see about getting it mounted. Ta-da! Okay guys, this is it. First fit, and I'm delighted to say that it is fitting together perfectly. And this will illustrate one of the reasons that I decided to use steel to make the adapter plate for this particular project. And that was the spacing we need in here is quite large because of the length of the motor shaft from our Siemens motor. And what I've had to use here are two pieces of 80 by 40 millimeter box section steel to basically space the gearbox away from the adapter plate, or to space the motor, sorry, from the adapter plate, such that it will actually fit together happily. And I'm very pleased to say that that is the case now. I do have a bit more space in there. Probably going to be hard to see it. I could probably pick up another 10 or maybe 15 millimeters. So I'd need a piece of 40 by 65 or 40 by 70, which doesn't really exist. I could probably make something, but for the sake of 10 millimeters, I'm not going to worry about it. There's plenty of room in the engine bay of this car, so I don't really think that's going to be a difficulty. But this is a first look at it actually together now, so I'm very pleased with that. It's turning. I can turn this. It's kind of difficult to turn it, but can turn it there. I'll have to just rig up a vice grips or something on there. It's a pity I don't have a stub to go on to that. But that's it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to dismantle it. I'm going to drill this box section here so that we can put a bolt in. I'm going to weld the nuts inside the box because we are going to reinforce this a little bit. And yeah, so then once we get everything squared up, we will sit this all back together. Bolt the gearbox to the plate, and we will then make sure everything's lined up and spinning as it should. We'll then tack weld the box section to the plate, take it all apart, seam weld the whole thing. Then we can go ahead and trim down the plate, put some paint on it, and we're pretty much done, guys. So let's get on with it. We're back. Okay, so what we now have is we have our box section bolted to the motor, and I've welded the nuts on the inside of the box section, so they're now basically captive nuts. We have the gearbox now sitting on the adapter plate, excuse me. We have all of our bolts through the adapter plate, and we're now ready to weld the adapter plate to the box section. So I'm going to put tacks on it, and then we'll take the whole thing apart and weld it up on the bench. Try and get you guys a bit of light and let you have a look in through the clutch fork situation there. See if we can get you guys a bit of light in there. Put a bit of light behind the camera. This isn't exactly Hollywood. There you go. Hoping you'll be able to see any of that in there. It's looking pretty good. So that's the story, guys. I'm going to get this welded up, and we'll come back then with the whole thing bolted together. And yeah, I might, at this point I have a lot of stuff going on, so I might just leave trimming off the plate and things like that to my pal. That only really needs an angle grinder and a spray can just to paint the thing up, so I might well leave that to him. But we'll see how the day goes, and yeah, okay, so let's get it tacked up, pull it apart, and see where we go. Alrighty. Okay. It's a bit rusty for me, but I'm gonna have to bite the bullet on it. Let's take a wire, power open a little bit. I need the welding gloves for this one because it's gonna get hot. Yeah. It's gonna get seriously warm, alright. Here we go. Wish me luck. Okay, let's give you guys a walkthrough here. So, we have welded up and we have bolted to the motor with our welded in nuts in the box section. We have bolted the gearbox to the adapter plate. You'll have to excuse some of these bolts, they're just the wrong size. I'm just kind of working with what I have here just to prove that everything mates up nicely. I haven't painted it, obviously. I did cut off some of the worst protrusions, but I'm going to leave the rest of that to my pal to kind of tidy up. I'll probably just put a basic primer coat on that once I strip it all off. So the thing spins beautifully here. I just got a little vice grips on the gearbox and it turns over perfectly. There's no binding or anything going on there, so I'm very happy with that. I'll try and show you guys in there. Don't know if it's going to work, but we'll try. Get a bit of light behind the camera for you. There you go. So that's working away nicely. So that's working away nicely. I don't have an inverter readily available at the minute to spin the motor, but will do next time. So that's it, guys. A nice, cheap, easy, simple method to adapt it up. As I say, it doesn't look very nice at the minute just because it needs to be cleaned up and a bit of paint on it, but it's going to be buried in the car. Nobody's going to see it, and end of the day, I think it's really worked out well. So, hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you're enjoying this little mini series. Don't forget to check my Instagram. I'll put a link in the description to that where you'll see more kind of regular photo updates and so on. Don't forget to subscribe and leave me a like, and check back next time. In this series, once I have an inverter sorted out, we'll be able to spin this motor up and make sure everything is working as it should. Then we can strip it apart and let my pal take over and get it into his car. So, okay guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.